Much better. I was worried that light was going to be impactful. Oh. I am red in the face and sweating something awful. Which in the summertime is obviously normal. But I'm just going to leave this live for a sec. A couple of minutes at tops. See how many people come in. Reconnecting? What do you fucking mean reconnecting? Don't give me that bullshit. I think I've got a still image right now. Hang on. Ah, there we go. That's better. Ah, just experiencing some technical difficulties, not even 60 seconds in. That is a bad omen indeed. Oh God. I might actually bring the fan in here just so I can cool off a little bit. Bear with me. Right. Ugh. Come on, you sack of shit. Come on. There we go. Let's see if this shit works. There we go. Just get that fucker plugged in. And turn it on. And it's not secure for whatever reason. Much better. Alright, so we've had a few people come in at any rate. I'm trying to find a decent spot to put this bloody thing. Otherwise I'm going to be sitting here holding it like a knob. But, hey-o. It is what it is. So, 27th of July. Are you making your plans? Mine are pretty much all set. Just literally waiting on a friend to just give me the deets. Tell me what's going on. I've got a plan B if that should fall through. Which is I will be getting the bloody train myself. So, no matter what happens. Let's see if I can tilt this down a bit. There we go, I think that's a bit better. So whatever happens, I'm going to be down there. I will see to that. But we must remember, the mainstream media, the police and the establishment will do everything they can to subvert the cause of this movement. And I mean everything. Like, if they tried before, they sure as shit will be trying even harder now. And hello, Popeye. Hope you're doing well. So this is why we must all be on our guard. Because who knows what they're planning for us. And I've already raised concerns in a past video that on the back of the Donald Trump assassination attempt, if they're willing to go after Donald Trump, there is absolutely no reason why they can't do the same for the 27th of July. Now, obviously, I'm hoping it's not going to happen, and I hope everyone's going to have a bloody good time up there. I'll sure as shit try, that's for sure. But I have to have that thought in the back of my mind, like the kind of catastrophizing that the police officer in Manchester did when he had those Muller Rices come along and decide to assault police officers. We have to be prepared for the worst case scenario, because I think it's a very, very real possibility right now. I think if they can't get us to be aggressive, agitated, and, well, I guess I already fit the part. Look, bloody skinhead. Look at me, fucking knuckle-dragging far-right thug. Skinhead. Wanker! But, in all seriousness, if they can't actually get a reaction out of us so they can label us as far-right, I suspect they're going to bring someone in to cause chaos, basically. And I'm not talking like the regular infiltrator type. I'm talking the similar kind of thing that happened over the pond with the United States of America. As I said, I don't want it to happen. I'm hoping it won't happen. But at the end of the day, that assassination attempt practically rules nothing out at this point. But the one thing I will say is I'm going regardless, because I'm not going to be scared by some cunt NPC who thinks he's going to make a big name for himself by taking a rifle to Trump's head. Oh, you can tell how much I needed that. Welcome in, Julie Blackman. At any rate, I've actually forgot what I was going to say now. Fucking hell. At any rate, main thing I want to say is make sure you bring lots of drink. Bring food if you must, but make sure, obviously, you put it in bags or something. That way, we don't leave any mess at all. I know that during the last protest, I know I said that there was a lot of rubbish when I saw it with my own 2 God-given eyes, or 4 if you want to count the specs. But then I did end up seeing the aftermath, which was taken from bird's eye view, and I did see it was cleaned up at least. So I'm happy to admit when I've made a mistake, or when there's stuff that comes out and I'm not aware of it. I'm hoping it's going to be the same when we go down there, and that it's going to be tidy and cleaned up and what have you. For God's sake, please do not drink any alcohol while you're up there. Hello, Paul. Nice to see you here. Or at least try to moderate the alcohol if you absolutely must. But generally, I think we should avoid the alcohol because we don't want to give them any ammunition. Because you know damn well the left wing and the NPCs and the media will use any ammunition they can to just basically waylay into us. That's the way I look at it. So, in my humble opinion, it's probably best just to avoid the alcohol. But, of course, do what you must. As far as, obviously, the march is concerned, I'm sure there are going to be some Muppets who come along and want to aggravate us. Just remember what we did last time. Wave and smile. And if you want to, under your breath, call them wankers by all means, but just don't shout it out for God's sake. Again, don't give them any ammunition. And hey, the way I look at it, Paul, courtesy costs nothing. And there's one thing that anyone who knows me will know all too well, and that is I am very strong on courtesy. But I digress. I think they will do everything they can. The police, I don't want to say they're going to cause trouble, because I don't know if they're going to be as good as they were last time. But what I do know is that whenever they have gotten involved, and they've gotten involved in fisticuffs and what have you, that's when the violence started. Or when the agitation started. And Tommy had made that point pretty clear in some of his videos. Whenever they stayed out of the way, everything was fine. Whenever they tried to aggressively attack us, everything went tits up. But when they stayed out of the way, everything was fine. But that's something the mainstream media don't want to tell you about. And speaking of the mainstream media, I can't ignore what happened as far as those 2 stories is concerned. I know I've released a video already as far as absolutely waylaying into the mainstream media is concerned, as far as the soldier stabbing and the airport attack is concerned. But I think I really want to hammer this point home and just make it clear as crystal for anybody watching or anybody who's going to watch the VOD for this, that obviously, to stamp on somebody's head under normal circumstances, a lot of people agree is completely reprehensible. Tommy Robinson's even done it before with an off-duty policeman. And that was the only point in which he was arrested for, I think it was common assault or something. Back in the day when his wife was getting harassed by an off-duty cop, who off-duty cops do tend to be a bit, shall we say, below the belt. But that he went and harassed Tommy's wife. Tommy defended her, quite rightly so. He was well within his rights to do so. It was only when he stamped on his head, when the officer was on the floor, that Tommy broke the law. But this isn't about Tommy Robinson in that sense, per se. This is just me putting into perspective the stamping on the head. Because I know there was one NPC who I literally saw like 20 minutes ago in one of the videos I was looking at on the way home, who was trying to use that as an excuse to be like, well, this officer who did the Manchester attack should be dismissed. And to that I say bollocks to it. Because there are reasons which I will go into. Just not right now. Because I want to cover the more important story first. Namely, that soldier being stabbed, the lieutenant colonel. I admit, I think when I was commenting on MSN, I think I called him a lieutenant, which was a mistake. Some people will not know that I've gone on there because that's not something I've openly shared. But this lieutenant colonel got attacked in the most cowardly way by some scumbag who, I'll be honest, I still don't know if he's a jihadi. I don't know if he is a migrant or whatever, but what we do know is he is a black man. And let me be clear, I have nothing against black people. The thing is, though, and things that people do need to remember, is that I have covered before as far as knife crime in London is concerned, which a lot of the knife crimes that are predominantly committed in London are done by black people. Black on black, ironically, is the most common one. So it does sadden me when I see this kind of thing, because I know there are going to be people who jump on that bandwagon of, oh, it's because he's black, when that is not the case. White men do go out and stab people, white women do go out and stab people, mullahs go out and stab and hack and slash people. We've seen that quite clearly, because we've seen Lee Rigby killed. But as far as this lieutenant colonel is concerned, this subhuman scumbag that attacked him even was licking the blade as well after the attack. Like, the man is about as disgusting as they come. And frankly, we don't want that man who committed this attack in this country. We want to take out the trash and get rid of him from this country. We don't want people like him taking up space in prisons at the taxpayers' expense. Besides, there's a point as well, as far as Anjem Choudhury is concerned, which I'll briefly go into, which is the fact that they're planning to put him into prison, but that's going to do absolutely fuck all. And I did notice, I made a comment about Tommy Robinson putting a tweet out, which was technically right, that he said throw away the key, but then later on made a video and he said basically that this will change nothing and that he will now be allowed to radicalize Muslims in prison. Which Tommy is right, which is why I made the point that I did. Send Anjem Choudhury to Guantanamo Bay, force the information out of him about his cohorts, then take out the trash permanently. Because at the end of the day, that man is a massive threat. And for all I know, he could have been the one person who maybe, and this is a speculation at this point, he may have been in contact with this attacker, for all I know. Obviously I don't know this, that's why I say at first that it's speculation, but yeah. Does anyone remember RA or UDA members claiming mental health? I'm trying to remember who you're talking about here more than anything. I don't think I've done anything about the RA or UDA members. But anyway, that is a point to bring up though. A lot of these muppets in the media will go straight to the mental health claim as far as why this man went out of his way to go and stab people and calls this guy a stroke. God fucking damn it. But who goes out and draws two knives and goes ahead and stabs people? Normally. Very fucking few people, let me tell you. Nobody in their right mind would do it, to be fair. I'll give them that. But the trouble is, they always go to mental health whenever it is Islam or the so-called religion of peace that does this. But when it's somebody who they consider right-wing, oh, they just say, oh, he's a far-right extremist and racist and all that shit. And it's sickening the double standards that these people have. Thankfully, this lieutenant colonel is going to recover. He was severely injured, but not killed on the back of this. His wife saved his life. And right now, in his shoes, if I was there, I could not think of a better woman to be with right now. Like, I know, ironically, men serve their country. But in a sense, women can serve their country as well. And I'll tell you what, this one woman has done more than her fair share of her duty to this country right now. And I respect her for it. 100%. Now, for the Manchester attack, because the mainstream media thought that the soldier attack was a low priority thing, not even breaking news. Some of the media outlets even decided to completely omit the details of the attacker of this soldier. So it's not even so much a matter of, but of course the mainstream media won't tell you this, this is a matter of the media literally they completely excluded the information. But as far as Manchester attack's concerned, world-breaking news! Muslims attacked by a police officer! When anybody who's seen what's gone on will clearly know that's not the case. And I believe Manchester police even put out a statement saying that some of their officers were basically assaulted by these Mullah Rices. And yes, I will be calling them Mullah Rices because they would never have the balls to do this to a proper group of officers. Like, if the officers were respected, like they had that big cap, they were 6 foot tall, they were strictly screened so that you'd only have the best officers on duty, there is no shot these guys would be doing this. They certainly wouldn't be attacking football fans who've got muscles bigger than fucking Popeyes, let me tell you. They would be running in the opposite direction. But of course, since it's women and people they deem as inferior and physically weaker to them, oh, then they get tough all of a sudden. That's the thing with Islam, especially Sunni Islam. They have this mentality of overwhelm through numbers or attack the weak. They're cowards. They're cunts. They're scumbags. They won't attack real people because they know they'll get absolutely destroyed. But what they did to these officers, one of these females ended up getting a broken nose. I think there was a couple of other officers who were pushed to the ground in the altercation as well, even using the American language now. But hey ho. The Muslims basically attacked the police officers. They attacked the police first. Just let that sink in. There's your full context of what's happened from the other perspective, because the only perspective they showed was the Mullah Rices on the floor, arms behind, oh sorry, not arms behind their backs, their arms were down at their sides. Now someone I've seen has made like comments about it's a possibility that the person who got kicked was actually tased first, which, if that is the case, it does kind of detract from the officer who did what I'm going to say next, because obviously, if they're already incapacitated, is there really any need to do that? But obviously, if they're still resisting, or if they basically aren't restrained fully, then it is completely understandable why the officer did what he did. And what did he do? Well, he decided he was going to use his foot to boot the mullah in front of him in the face and then stamp on his head. I think, if you look closely as well at the video, this was something I only noticed after I did the video that I did. When I looked at the footage again, I think you can even see one of the teeth of the Mullah Rice being booted down the floor. So, obviously he's taken some significant injuries here. And you know what I say? Good. Literally, that's all I've got to say. Good. Because this is a classic case of fuck around, find out. That's all it boils down to. He and his little NPC cohorts attacked the police. And what happened was this male could see that every officer around them were not putting in enough effort of intimidation. Now, ironically, I usually have a thing against intimidation, but as far as police and law enforcement is concerned, you have to have that intimidation to get suspects and criminals to comply. Although in this case, it clearly wasn't doing the job, and the people around him were not putting the intimidation factor on. So this guy took it upon himself at the airport to kick the guy and stamp on his head. Here's the thing, and I know a lot of people are going to be conflicted with it, because obviously that is a high end of the violence scale here. Like, we're talking you could cause brain damage to someone. Well, in his case is probably fine, because he probably doesn't have a brain anymore. Anyway, the point is, it is quite a high end scale violent act. But there are times where things like that are necessary. And this is one of them, unfortunately. Because in an airport, we've already seen what's happened when Islam manages to get bombs and guns onto a plane, take control of an aircraft, crash it into the Twin Towers. We've already seen that. We've already seen what people can do if they have the weapons on them. Now, obviously, we don't know if they've got weapons on them, because we're probably never going to find out. It did feel like they were unarmed, but the one thing is, as I've said in my video about this, is officers have to catastrophize things. They have to be thinking of the worst case scenario. It's one of the very few times I would justify it. Because if it then turns out that if you're not thinking, oh, he's got a gun, he's going to shoot people, and then all of a sudden he comes out, he's got a gun and he starts shooting people, and kills someone, or kills an officer, then people are going to be like, well, why didn't you do this in the first place? So the police kind of in that perspective can't win. But I applaud this officer for using the force he did to basically control the situation. Muller Rice indeed. Because they're soft, sensitive, bloody snowflakes capable of attacking the weak, but when a man comes along, they turn tail. Spineless bastards is what they are. Because they were willing to attack the female officers. They were willing to get aggressive with the police. And bear in mind, if you're already attacking the police, it kind of leaves very little to doubt as what else a person could be physically capable of doing. Because if you're attacking the police at an airport, especially police that are armed, bear in mind, then it stands to reason why police might be thinking, well, he might go for my gun, or he might have a gun, or he might have a bomb, he might blow us up, that kind of thing. That's why they have to think the way they do, and that's why the guy did what he did. That's the bottom line. Stop, fight, then be the victim. That's exactly what they're doing, Edward. How are you doing today, though? I hope you're doing all right. That is what Islam loves doing. They like committing the crimes, like being the attackers, and then pretending to be the victims. And Islam needs to stop this. If they ever want to be taken seriously, they need to stop this shit. Because all they do is further alienate themselves from society. But then they don't really care at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, Islam only cares about one thing. And that is Islam and its goals. The Sharia law, the worldwide caliphate, the free one-way ticket from the top of a building to the floor for any gays that they come across. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me. It doesn't suit the narrative. Why else do you think they're omitting the details as far as what happened to the officers is concerned? Do you think they'd be still on the side of the Muslims if it came out that those guys attacked police first? Something tells me not. I think even the sheeple would have to agree that what Islam has done here is unequivocally and undeniably unacceptable. But then the baying mob come out. Because I will give credit to Islam on one thing, and please put your pitchforks down before you fucking kill me, but there is one thing that Islam does have that we don't: community. Whenever something happens with Islam, they all come together really quickly and cohesively. They come together to take on a common enemy very, very fast. And we need to be able to do the same against Islam. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have that cohesion and the community together to be able to combat this threat, it's just going to get worse and worse. Because they'll know we're unprepared, we can't mobilize fast enough, we can't deal with the threats as soon as they rise up, and we won't be able to stop an army of mullahs, if they have intentions to kill, from being able to kill. That's the way I look at it. Now let me be clear, I'm not advocating for a violent revolution on any stretch. I've never been an advocate for that shit. But I have to look at it from that perspective, because what you see with a lot of these mullah races is that they will start trouble if they don't get their way. The biggest example is literally what's happened now at Manchester Airport. There is now a baying mob who is literally calling for the resignation of that officer who stamped on the mullah's head. But they will willingly admit and willfully lie that these mullahs didn't do anything. Now say what you will about use of excessive force, but don't play the victim when you have committed a grievous offence for attacking an officer in the first place. Frankly, they should be thankful they're still alive right now. And I suspect if they were killed, there would be riots. 100%. If these mullahs weren't alive, if they were domed or double tapped for attacking the police. What? The charges are going to be dropped, but the police suspended. What? Wait, you're saying that the mullahs are going to be allowed to get away with this? If that really is the case, then that really is scary. Because, like I said, if they're willing to attack police at an airport, it really, really sets a very dark precedent. My God. Like, at this point, is it any wonder why tensions are at the highest they've ever been? Tensions are boiling over. We have mullahs coming out calling for the resignation of this officer for acting in a appropriate way in a airport, defending his cohorts from a potential threat, because as I said, it only takes a moment for someone to be like, and then they've got a gun. And as I said, if they get a gun, you really are going to have a problem. But if that is the case, that they are going to get let off for assaulting the police, you're going to send a horrible message to the Islamic community, the Islamic death cults, which basically says, you can attack our police officers, you can wish for death upon Jews, you can parade in our streets and block the roads, and attack police violently in a protest, and we'll do nothing. And I'm not even going to say the other half of it about what they'll do to patriots, because I don't even need to at this point, because the first bit in and of itself should send shivers down people's spines. Like, it makes me sick to think that this is how much they're getting away with. But of course, the mainstream media is not going to tell you that they're getting away with murder, effectively. Because that's, as I said, it's literally a split-second thing. Rivers of blood will flow. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't want a violent revolution, but I think the cold, bitter truth is something's going to give. That's what it boils down to at the end of the day. I think tensions are now reaching that critical point where if the police and the government are going to continue importing the third world shitholes over to our country and allowing Islam to have a free pass to do whatever the fuck it wants, basically, it's going to mean that the ordinary British people are going to have to do the work of the establishment for them. And we're going to end up seeing a violent revolution. I think at this point it's no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when, as much as I do not want it to be the case. I think it's going to come down to, we're going to have had enough of Mullah Rices running around, stabbing people, raping people, attacking police officers, doing what they want. Well, basically as I said, attacking police, the pro-Palestine protests, calling for death upon Jews. You've got the grooming gangs as well, which I haven't even touched upon, quite frankly. Like, I could go on this stuff. I don't want to be constantly going on a rail towards Islam, but Islam kind of does it to themselves, because as much as I want moderate Muslims in this country who are able to integrate with society, what we keep seeing is stories of hardline Islamists, hardline extremists who, ironically, they are the far right. Islam is the far right at this point, because they're the ones who are unequivocal fascists, calling for treat women like second-class citizens, homosexuals as people to hunt down and kill. Cold, bitter truths, my friend. Not facing consequences of their actions. That's exactly what it is. But if you were to flip the script, if it was a Muslim that was attacking white people who had assaulted police officers, so we have the same context, the white people would be condemned, understandably and quite rightly, for attacking the police, and the mullah would probably be getting a promotion right now, and probably even a knighthood. That's what pisses me off. The double standards. One rule for one group of sheeple and NPCs, and another group for everyone else. I'm worried tensions are going to boil over. And I think it's going to reflect in the 27th of July. The St. George's Day celebration was the police attacked the British public, but the police got away with it. But when we have things like this happens and the police give in and our country doesn't hold them to account, lets them get away with it. Yeah, we've seen it. We've clearly seen it. I think I even covered that. I wish I was down there on the day. The only reason I wasn't down on the St. George's Day celebrations in London was because I was working at the time. And understandably, in my situation where I have not a lot of money, I have to be able to live. Because if I don't have a house, I don't have food and all that shit, I can't continue, put simply. But I made sure I was there for the 1st of June. I am going to be there on the 27th of July. I am going to be there. We must make it a day of celebration, but I am worried that we're going to see something happen. And I'm worried that in the near future, we may end up seeing that dreaded violent revolution. And I think what will end up happening after that is the government will try to bring in policies to basically say, you're not allowed to protest in London. Then they're going to start bringing in the army. Though I think that will be their biggest mistake. Because a lot of the army are sick and tired of the wokery, as are we. We're sick of the wokery, we're sick of the DEI, we're sick of Islam running rampant and not facing the consequences of their actions. I think something is going to give, unfortunately. And it's going to be very, very scary and very, very nasty when it does happen. And as I've said, I will say again, I want to be absolutely clear on this. I am not advocating for violence or a violent revolution in any way, shape or form. The only thing I will say is if it does happen, I will completely understand why the ordinary patriot or the ordinary person feels like this is the only option they have left. Because as JFK once said, when you make peaceful resolution impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. And I think we're going to see it. I just hope to God that this gets fixed. I don't push my religion on anyone. It's a relationship between me and God. I mean, fair enough. If you are a moderate Muslim, we need more people like you here. I think the only thing I will critique moderates on is you need to be more vocal. You need to be more vocal and call out the extremists for what they are. Because, me to you now, Halal. If there was if we were all Christians, let's say, just for the sakes of argument, we're all Christians, and we had some Christians going out and attacking Muslims, moderate Muslims, you would expect us to call the extremist out, wouldn't you? Because at the end of the day, that's just basic human decency. Expose the trash, take out the trash, and put it in the dumpster of history. I hope I haven't got it wrong, but that's just generally my mentality. Whatever type it is, whether it's an Islamic extremist, whether it's a Christian extremist, whether it's a Hindu extremist, I'll be lucky if I see one of those. But whatever religion or whatever it is, I think it's natural we would expect them to call it out. And I think moderate Muslims need to call this out more. I think the more people that do that, the more likely we are to banish the death cult part of Islam, that is Sunni Islam. Because I want to see people able to integrate with our society. It's just very, very difficult to see that, though, when all we keep seeing is how you have these fringe elements and ironically, the real far right in radical Islam that's going out of their way to do so much untold damage to our societies, our cultures, our beliefs, everything. And hope to see you in London tomorrow. Well, as long as everything goes well, I should be there. I'm not sure if my friend's going to be there, the one that's going to be driving me down, and if all else fails, I'll just get the fucking train. But he's at least helping me out a little bit, and I appreciate his support for it. But yeah, 27th of July, be there. We must make sure we voice our absolute contempt at the traitors in the houses of treachery. I mean Parliament. Or maybe I was right first time. The people like Keir the Tool Starmer, who wants to rejoin us to the EU, wants thousands more migrants over here, and tries to call them irregular immigration rather than illegal immigration. He is the biggest bloody tool of the lot, and he will sink this country so fast. This is our chance, folks. This is our chance to take out the trash, metaphorically speaking, and place them all in the dumpster of history where they rightfully belong. Because we are the people, we are a resistance, and we will win. This is a blatant war against old whitey and British patriots. People who love their country, who love each other, love thy neighbour. And yet we have politicians who clearly don't love us. So make it your civic duty to be there. Royal Courts of Justice, noon, going into Trafalgar Square. And let's take the fight to the establishment and show them we will no longer put up with the deceit, the treachery, and the constant railing against ordinary patriots under the false guise of calling them far right. And last point, any mainstream media out there, I've already put a short out there, I'll say it here again, my challenge to you directly, tell the truth for 24 hours on the 27th of July. Nothing but the truth. I dare you. Have you got the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to be able to stop with the libelous slander and tell the truth? Have you got the guts to be able to put aside bias and report what happens at that rally 100% factually and without bias? Because if you don't, I am going to make it another civic duty of mine to find each and every fucking one of you who puts out a fake news article or tries to libelously and shamefully slander us in your articles. I will fucking name your organizations, and I will name and shame each and every one of you individually. I will see to that. Even if it takes me 4 hours, 5 hours, I don't care. I will do it. I will find every fucking article and I will expose and name and shame you all. Because we will not tolerate this constant slanderous rhetoric against ordinary patriotic people who merely love their country. Thank you all ever so much for watching. It's been a pleasure doing this. I thank you all for all your wonderful support. You've been wonderful. And I wish you all a good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. And make sure you're up there on the 27th of June. And hopefully, if all goes well, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.